In 1820, a story would come out, a story called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, Washington Irving, the creator of this masterpiece, he stumbled upon this small village, squirrel hunting actually, and he took pieces of this village and he made them a part of the story. Now you can visit these locations today. In fact, that's what we're doing. We're going to take you to all the locations that Washington Irving used for his infamous story of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman.
If we could but journey back to that remote period in American history when the city of Manhattan was but a market town, we would discover in the bosom of one of those spacious coves which indent the shores of the Hudson, the little village of Tarrytown. And just beyond, nestled deep in the low, rolling hills, a sequestered glen. It's a quiet, peaceful place, and yet somehow foreboding.
The bridge that we were just standing on is the old-style Horseman Bridge. Now, this bridge is not the bridge from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow that Washington Irving would use, but it is modeled after the bridge from the story to kind of give you that spooky feeling, like at any moment a black horse with a headless rider would come out and chase you down and try to take your head. So the top of the bridge, you can see how it's got that old wooden look. Crossing the brook, I'm telling you, feel like the horseman's coming. Here's another shot of the Headless Horseman Bridge. Kind of down from the water, you got the nice brook underneath in front of us with all the rocks. You kind of get that sense of something chasing you.
When Ichabod Crane arrives to the village of Sleepy Hollow, he is set to take on the role of the schoolmaster. Now, Ichabod loves the women. He loves the food the women provide him. But where did Washington Irving get the character Ichabod Crane? Now, it's stated in 1809, Washington Irving met a man by the name of Jesse Merwin. Jesse Merwin was a school teacher who was lazy, cowardly, and superstitious. All of the things that we know and love about Ichabod Crane. But what about his name? In 1812, Washington Irving met a captain by the name of Ichabod Crane.
So what you see in front of you is Philipsburg Manor House. It's a restoration of the 17th century Dutch manor that would have been back in Ichabod's day. Now you can actually take a tour of the Sleepy Hollow village. You just got to get your tickets. They only do it certain times of the year, certain months, so just check online for that. The tour actually starts here on this bridge that you see to the left. Now, what does this area have to do with our story? Well, it's the mill pond. This mill pond would have been the area that Ichabod would walk the ladies around. You know, he's a ladies' man. Bring them here on a little date, a little picnic, and, you know, he'd kind of go through the ladies. He's trying to find the one that can cook the best and get all his free stuff. Until he meets the lovely Katrina, who's supposed to be, you know, quote, the hottest girl in town. He falls heavily for her, and so the story goes. So, you were back in the 17th century. You want to take a little stroll around the mill pond?
With Ichabod?
Yeah, with Ichabod.
I don't know. I mean, I can see, and, you know, the way he's described, But, you know, he is like probably smarter than all the village people, like more intellectual, you know.
I would hope so, since he's a schoolmaster.
Yeah, he's always reading the books and stuff, so I could see the appeal of Ichabod, but man, in the cartoon, they toe that man up, and the huge ears, and you know,
shoot them big old feet and said it didn't know if it was shovels hitting the ground.
Yeah.
Dude must have had like a size 25 shoe.
But I mean, this would be a nice area for a date.
Well, you know,
very pretty.
If Ichabod looked more like Johnny Depp, then the cartoon would be all right.
Yep. We could go on a date for sure.
I mean, it is a nice. I mean, I could see the appeal for, you know, coming and having a picnic around this pond, and you know, you got you some nice ducks. It'd be a little romantic, or just a good way to spend a nice afternoon. So inside where you buy the tickets to go into the Philipsburg Manor area, there's a gift shop also. Some nice blankets. Ichabod being chased by the headless horseman. Nice Sleepy Hollow sweater. With some pants with a headless horseman on it. Classic tales of horror. Along with some headless horseman shot glasses. Legend of Sleepy Hollow mug with the headless horseman on it. And the tree. Even got a legendary blend black tea. So they even have Irving 3 Western narratives, book for sale, and Washington Irving soy wax, handcrafted.
This is a candle.
Ah.
And it smells real manly, just to let you know.
We might need to get that in.
That's like they just took Washington Irving and they just bottled him up and they put all his manly stink in this candle.
Well, they also made cologne too. So.
Yeah, so if you want to smell like Washington Irving, you just spritz a little bit of that on.
I can dig it. Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Other Stories by Washington Irving.
These are postcards. These are pretty nice postcards. This is some nice material. Write you a little message for home.
I like the Sleepy Hollow, the headless horseman chasing Ichabod.
I need this because it is like so cold outside.
Yep. All right, over here, got this big thing of the headless horseman.
It's kind of funny that they have like the frogs over here with it, you know, because from the cartoon.
Oh yeah, the frog scaring Ichabod. And here's a drawing of Mr. Ichabod and Katrina.
Well, now look, why couldn't they make Ichabod look like that in Disney? Because Ichabod don't look bad there.
So Renee found some candles. This one is Katrina Van Tassel. What's she smell like?
It's just very flowery and mixed with a little bit of little scent of fruit. She smells good though. If I was Ichabod, you know, I'd be sniffing her too with that big honker. Outside of where you can actually tour Philipsburg Manor, they actually have a monument with Ichabod running from the Headless Horseman. Now it says, presented to the village of North Tarrytown by Centennial Committee. And if you actually notice where you're standing, you're in the direction, like it's pointing in the direction that he would have chased Ichabod. Ichabod and Brom have got this major beef over who's going to end up winning Katrina's hand. And that beef rolls over to a party hosted by Katrina and her family. It's at this party that Ichabod learns of all these ghostly tales. Because, you know, Ichabod's like a superstitious, super scary character. And one of the stories in particular is that of the Headless Horseman, you know, just looking for a head. And it could be yours, I guess, if he catches you. The building itself where the party took place is no longer here, obviously. That was like a bajillion years ago. But what stands here now is the landmark condominiums, the building you're seeing in front of you. Why we think that this is attached to the legend is because this is where Elizabeth Van Tassel's house was. It was converted to a tavern before the Revolutionary War by the Mott family. Irving used to come here a lot to visit his sister who was living with the Mott family. There have been historians that have actually found where this was a part of the 165-acre farm that was owned by John Van Tassel. So, you know, it's kind of how we link it. This is where the house was. Irving came here all the time, so naturally, this is where he puts Ichabod, partying with his woman. Ichabod has left the Van Tassel's party. Now, the stories that he was told are in his head. They're creeping him out significantly. And every little twig that snaps or slight sound from the deep, dark woods is freaking him out nonetheless. He's constantly looking over his shoulder thinking that the Headless Horseman is after him. Well, partially, he's correct. Because a little ways down the road, you know, when he's like, oh, okay, nobody's following me, I'm okay. No, he's not. It's here in Patriots Park where the Headless Horseman actually starts to pursue Ichabod. Here outside Patriots Park, you'll find this sign that says, Andre captured. Now, this sign is related to our story because Washington Irving actually put it in a passage stating that this is where the Headless Horseman started chasing Ichabod. It says, it was at this identical spot that the unfortunate Andre was captured. And it goes on and on. But yeah, that's how we know we're right beside Willie's Swamp. Right over there. The area that was known as Willie's Swamp in the story, where Ichabod first encounters the Headless Horseman, well, this is it. It's a far cry from a swamp now. Actually, it was drained, and this stream runs through half of Tarrytown, half of Sleepy Hollow. Today, I mean, looking at it, it honestly looks like something Pennywise would crawl out of. I'm not gonna lie.
Now imagine after a good rain, it probably, you know, would fill up and be a nice, really good stream flowing through here. I mean, because it goes all the way down behind us up under 2 more bridges, so.
Are you in there, Pennywise? Are you taking kids from Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown? We're on to you. Even though it's just a small stream, I mean, in here it's barely any water whatsoever, you can use your imagination to picture what it would have been like and would have looked like in Washington Irving's day. Now, let me just read something from the story. When Ichabod arrived here at Willie's Swamp, it says, in the dark, a shadow of the grove on the margin of the brook beheld something huge. Misshapen and towering, it stirred not, but seemed gathered up in the gloom, like some gigantic monster ready to spring upon the traveler. He appeared to be a horseman of large dimensions and mounted on a black horse of powerful frame. Kind of gives you chills, don't it? To be standing here in the exact spot where Ichabod Crane would have first come face to face with the Headless Horseman. Even though, I mean, there's not a lot of water here now, and it's kind of more of like a muddy mess. Still, I mean, what they've done with it, like making the bridges that go over it and the walkways, like all this like spiral staircase and stuff. Still really nice, kind of enchanting, despite there being a murderous clown lurking in there.
Right between Phillipsburg Manor and the Sleepy Hollow Bridge, you have an area that's called Statue Island. And here, as you can see, we have the Headless Horseman with his jack-o'-lantern chasing poor Ichabod and his scared-to-death horse. And they're actually facing and heading in the direction of where the bridge was, or back then the bridge was. New bridge now.
So Ichabod can literally see, like, all I've got to do is just get right there, and I'm safe.
He is so close to. I love how they got even the horse looks terrified.
Yeah.
Horse is like, I'm gonna die too. Oh my God. Why did this man take me from my home? Because you know the cartoon.
Oh, he's so sleepy. All he wants to do is
he's
sleep.
sleepy and tired. And I don't even think that was Ichabod's horse, because it was attached to a plow.
Yeah.
And he kind of breaks the rope on the plow just to take the horse, I guess, so he can look, you know, important in case he's got to take Miss Katrina home. Then he'd have a ride and wouldn't have to bum one of hers.
Well, you know, and too, like being that the October and, you know, fall, they have it kind of all decorated up with the pumpkins and everything. But it's really cool how the statue is made of iron, and they've actually, the way they made it, it's like a 3D sculpture.
Yep. Because I bet from across, if you looked at it from across the road, you really get the full big 3D effect, because you'd be able to, all the parts would come together. A little closer shot. Ichabod and his horse. Headless Horseman and the pumpkin. We're standing here at the Headless Horseman Bridge, or the bridge that it would have been described by Washington Irving, that Ichabod's having to cross to get to the church, to get away from the Headless Horseman. Here's a plaque in the middle of where the bridge would have been. Sleepy Hollow Bridge, erected to the memory of Washington Irving, 1783 to 1859.
Obviously, our bridge today doesn't necessarily look like the bridge that we know from the movie. It's not as creepy, but, you know, times have changed. But it's at this point in the story that is told to Ichabod, like, this is his safety point. You need to reach the bridge, cross it, and the Headless Horseman can't get you. You're safe after that. So that's what he's gunning for, is this part right here. Now, once he crosses it, he thinks, I'm safe. You know, whatever, I've reached the other side. They set out, I was good if I got there. What we find is Ichabod's hat and a smashed pumpkin the next day, because he does make it over there, but the Headless Horseman tosses that flaming jack-o'-lantern toward him. So there's only speculation to what happened to Ichabod. What do you think happened? I mean, in the Disney cartoon, it says there were rumors that he went on to marry someone, and he has all these little children around the table.
And she was rich.
And they're feasting on the food, you know, that we know Ichabod loves. So, and another thing, too, that is kind of like, do you actually believe that it was a Hessian ghost? Or do we think it was actually Brom Bones dressed up to get rid of Ichabod so he could have his way with Katrina? We finally made it to the old Dutch church. Now, this is where the flight of Ichabod ends, you know, because he's crossed the bridge, he's trying to get into the yard of this church right here. Now, it's stated that the 2-acre burying ground around the church is actually where Washington Irving may have gotten some of the inspiration for some of his characters. Basically, what you're looking at right now is still active, and it's the oldest church in the state of New York. Now, it's had a couple of restorations and stuff,
obviously,
throughout the years because it is super old, but yeah, this is pretty much what it would still look like.
That's cool. Little plaque outside of the church talking about how it was built in 1697 by Frederick Philipse, first lord of the manor. So this church has been in use ever since it was built in 1697, except in the Revolution. Here on the side of the old Dutch church to my left, you'll find the Brush family monument, which is what you're looking at now. The reason we're showing this one is because right here at the bottom, Caleb Brush's wife, you'll see Eleanor Van Tassel. You know, if you've read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow or seen the cartoon or seen the movie, the name Van Tassel is an important character. Now, the reason we're showing you Eleanor is because her Aunt Katrina is buried in another spot. We know Katrina Van Tassel is the main lady of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, some believe that Washington Irving used Katrina, and then others believe that he only used the aunt's name, Katrina Van Tassel, and that the character itself was based off of Eleanor Van Tassel, Katrina's niece. And the reason for that is it said that in real life, Eleanor was very charismatic. She was very much like the character Katrina Van Tassel in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And here's the resting place of Katrina Van Tassel. See, hers is pretty old. I mean, even some of it on the side right here is kind of busted off. Looks like she was 56 when she died. So Washington Irving either used her as the character in Sleepy Hollow, or he used her name and based the character off of her niece. Here's the final resting place of Katrina von Petrus von Tassel. And if you want to find it, it's just out from this old shed. So if you're looking at this old shed with the green plaque in front of you, just come out, and it's like a little walkway here, or open drive area, and this is what the tombstones look like. We know the name of the adversary to Ichabod Crane in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is Brom Bones. Now, the two broken tombstones you see in front of you is Brom Bones. I believe that's who these are based off of. And they're both nicknames for the father and the son. The father's nickname here, Abram Marteling. I think that's what this name says. It's kind of, old and wearing away. But anyway, his nickname was Brom, and to my right, this one with the same name was his son, and the son's nickname was Bones. So Washington Irving took Brom Bones, father and son, and made the adversary character name. If you want to find these, they're real close to the back thing here, just to the left of the old shed.
To me, it's like Disney just regurgitated Brom Bones, and then they made the dude from Beauty and the Beast. What's his name?
Oh, if you hadn't asked me, I could have told you, because we were talking about this the other night.
Gaston,
yeah. Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, yeah.
Because they're exactly alike. They come rolling up there, this buff, brunette, good-looking dude that has all the ladies swooning.
Yeah,
And
Hunter passing out alcohol.
yeah, and
beer,
all the
ale.
guys like think they're like just the greatest thing ever. So I mean, it's like Disney just took Washington Irving's character and was just like Gaston right
Yeah.
there.
Well, we'll give him a different name, make him French, and there you go. We've talked about Brom Bones. We've talked about Katrina Van Tassel. We've talked about Ichabod Crane and all these characters. But what about the man himself? What about the Headless Horseman? The Hessian Rider? What about him? He runs around trying to find his head because he lost his. So is he actually real? Is he actually something more than the fictional character made up by Washington Irving? Could the Headless Horseman, the Hessian Rider, running around trying to find his head, could he actually be buried in this old Dutch cemetery? Well, I'm glad you asked all of those wonderful questions, because the fact is, he very well could be. During the Revolutionary War, the British and Hessians were working together. The British Army came into town and they would ransack the houses looking for edibles. Once they were through, the Hessians would then come in looking for things of value. And this Hessian rider went into a house, saw a little baby there. He was getting his valuables, and he knew that the captain of this British army was going to burn the houses to the ground once they were through ransacking the place. So he takes the child. Sure enough, the captain and his men burned the houses down, and Elizabeth and Cornelius Van Tassel, they would try to go into their house while they see it burning. The Hessian rider stops them and says, "Don't worry, I have your child." It's the baby that he took from the house. Fast forward a little bit. They were so moved by this Hessian rider saving the child that when the man would actually get his head blown off by a cannon fire, hence Headless Horseman, Elizabeth was so moved by his bravery in saving their child previously that she gave him a Christian burial here in the cemetery. Now, the plot that you see in front of you right here, this big open spot, this is the supposed location of that Hessian rider. Now, back then, when you were poor and couldn't afford to be buried in a nice plot with a nice tombstone, they would give you an unmarked area. And this open plot right here, which is near the Van Tassel and the Brom Bones headstones, this is said to be the location and the final resting place for that Hessian rider, which would become Washington Irving's Headless Horseman.
So I know, like, it's not for definite that he's here, like, and it's kind of like all like, oh, well, this is the part of the legend. He could be here.
Legend and lore.
Yeah. But would make it really cool is if there was, like, just right here in this empty area, if there was this huge creepy tree with like a hole in it, like in the Johnny Depp movie. Like, it would just make it even more better.
Yep.
And like, yeah, like I know he's there for sure. He comes out that hole, I know it.
Another nice legends and lore plaque here at Old Dutch Cemetery, talking about the Headless Horseman. Tethers his horse nightly among graves in this churchyard, according to the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, author Washington Irving. Now, I gotta say, I love it when places like this embrace their legends and lore and don't try to hide it. They don't act like they're ashamed of it. Places like Sleepy Hollow embracing the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the Headless Horseman, Washington Irving, places like Salem, embracing the witch trials and everything that that area is known for. Santa Cruz, embracing the Lost Boys. You know, that's how it should be. Whether you're a real life haunted location or a town with a history as cool as the Legend of Sleepy Hollow, you got to embrace it. That's what makes people love coming to these spots, not shying away from them, trying to act like they don't exist. So that's cool.
Because people are going to come either way. You might as well make some money off it.
Right. See, even here, now they don't have it marked, the graves that we have shown you, the inspire the characters of the book. But they do, right in front of me, have an Irving, for Washington Irving, with an arrow so that you can go and actually find the man's final resting place. So here is the sign pointing to Mr. Washington Irving, and over here on the back of it, they have actually put Ichabod Crane being chased by the Headless Horseman. Now here is the Irving family plot. I like how they got it decorated with pumpkins and hay. A nice iron gate. And they even put a family plaque right here in the front. Now this entire enclosure is all of the Irving family plot, and you can't go in here. You can kind of just get your pictures from outside the gate, but now the man himself is buried right there between the two American flags. Washington Irving, born April 3rd, 1783, died November 28th, 1859. Well, that does it for Washington Irving and the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. This is a good video. I liked it. I love this town. It's one of my 3 favorite towns, not big cities, but here, Salem, Santa Cruz. So it's always nice when we get to come up here and shoot a video, not shoot a video, and just kind of hang out or something. So
I always like doing these kind of videos to see at least what's left of the sites that authors used for inspiration. We've been to where Stephen King lives and some of the inspiration he pulled from around his town for his stories, and overseas to visit the town of Whitby and see all the sites from Dracula. It's just, it brings the story more to life.
yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoy making it. Shout out to our VIP Road Warrior patron, the Crypt Lady. Thanks for your sponsorship each month. Thank you for watching this video. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you've ever been here, what's your favorite part, or maybe what's one of your favorite towns you like to visit. Till next time, we'll catch you down the road at the next exit.
Keep it spooky.
Later.